There's nothing we can get in life that doesn't come at a cost. You know, time, energy, family, relationships. You want this, you're gonna have to pay that.
Yeah, it's trade-offs.
There's always trade-offs. But at the same time, for everything we suffer, for every liability, there are benefits. There are silver linings every time. Lessons, would be the most obvious one. And so there are things that we will come out of this weaker. And there are things that we will come out of this stronger. And the thing is to celebrate the things that are stronger and just be aware of the things that are weaker. And so it's not an either or, it's a both. We're paying the price and we're learning and we're gaining as we go through it.
I don't think you can motivate the unmotivated. I don't think you could motivate people. People either are motivated or unmotivated. I think you can inspire people. You can motivate people with sticks and carrots, offer them bounty or threaten punishment, and you'll get behavior that you want. Is there loyalty? Is there love? Absolutely not. Usually, when people are unmotivated, it's not necessarily them. It might be the situation they're in. Maybe they don't belong in the culture. Maybe they feel unseen or unheard. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they're unprepared. So we have to, when somebody's unmotivated, let's not label them as unmotivated first. What are the 20 other things that it could also be? Let's start there. Now, are there some people in the world who are unmotivated? Absolutely. You hired them, which means you bear some responsibility if it's time to transition them, to help them find another place where they're going to be a better fit. We can't yell at them and call them stupid and unmotivated and push them out the door. We have to bear some of the responsibility. We hired them. And if we made a mistake and hired somebody who's a bad cultural fit, then we have to take care of them and help them transition to somewhere where they're going to be a better fit. I think that, if we only focus on motivating people, and that's a factor, then you're only going to get very finite thinking. An excessive amount of motivating things, like hit this number, get this bonus, you'll get a motivated employee pool that doesn't care about each other, might stab each other in the back, and eventually will take a better job somewhere else. We have to inspire people. We have to give them that sense of cause and vision that their work is worth more. We have to make them feel like they matter and feel like they're seen and heard and understood. And what ends up happening is those people are not only more motivated and inspired, but if they're offered a better, higher paying job somewhere else, they turn it down. Because it's not just about the bonuses and the money, it's because they would rather be here with these wonderful people.
There's no such thing as a perfect job, and there's no such thing as a perfect person. Of course there are things that we are doing that hold ourselves back, and of course there are things about the environment in which we work, whether it's the people or the job or whatever the circumstances, that may also be holding us back. I mean, but to see ourselves as victims is not the thing. But rather to seek opportunity, and it goes back to that growth mindset, which is, what I've learned is one of the best ways to grow oneself is to actually help somebody on the team grow. Service. There's an entire section in the bookshop called self-help, and there's no section in the bookshop called help others. And I think what we've done is we've over-indexed on the whole rugged individualism sort of self-helpy thing. How can I be successful? How can I grow my business? How can I lose weight? How can I find love? And yet we forget, how can I help somebody else grow their business? How can I help somebody else find success? How can I help somebody else lose weight and find love, etc.? And the irony is the more that we set out to help somebody else, because we have more objectivity with other people, ironically, we actually learn to help ourselves. I tried this out. I did a little experiment. A dear friend of mine was going through a hard time. A solopreneur. Work wasn't going well. Her marriage was shaky, and she was in a bad place. And so she knows what I do for a living, so she called me up and says, would you spend some time with me? I said, of course. So every single week, religiously, we spent about 90 minutes together. She'd come over and we would talk, and I would offer her some perspective and some ideas, and she'd feel great for like a day or two, and then she'd go back. And we'd get together the next week, and she'd feel great for a couple of days, and then go back. And this repeating pattern went on for quite a while. And then I remembered my own work, which is the idea of service, and had a little idea, which is to switch it around. And I called her up and said, look, I would like some coaching too. And it was genuine. I said, you know me better than anybody else. I trust you completely. When we get together for one of our sessions, can I use up some of the time? Can I tell you what I'm going through? And what ended up happening is we spent all 90 minutes talking about my stuff. And this went week after week after week, where she was just the advice giver. And strange things started to happen. She started to get more stability in her work, more stability in her marriage. Her confidence went up. And it was because she was helping me that she was gaining all the insights and perspective, because it wasn't personalized. It's like sales training, and anybody who's ever gone through sales training, you know this, which is you always do it with three people. You know, the person who plays the role of the salesperson, the person who plays the role of the person you're selling to, the buyer, and an observer. And it's the observer that does the learning, not the people playing the roles. Well, in this case, you got to see herself not be so close to it. It gave her objectivity. So I'm a great believer in, if you have a problem to solve at work, try and help somebody else solve that same problem.
Passion is not an input. Passion is an output. Passion, we're all passionate. We're just not all passionate for the same things. And we will feel what we call passion when we are involved in something that is deeply personal to us, that is helping us advance some higher purpose or cause. Then when we go to work, what we experience is passion. But if you make us do something that we feel no personal connection to, that is not us helping advance any kind of bigger ideal, then what we feel is stress. Now, passionate people work many hours, they don't come home, they miss their families, they take business trips, they don't sleep, and yet it feels worth it. People who are stressed go on business trips, they miss their families, they work long hours, they don't sleep, but it doesn't feel worth it. Passion is an output, not an input. Like stress is an output, not an input. So you can't do what you're passionate about. You find something you believe in, and what you will experience is passion.
I had lost my own passion for my own work. My life looked fine and good, but I didn't want to wake up and go to work anymore. And what I discovered was, based on the biology of human decision-making, this little model, why, how, and what. And I realized I knew how I did things and I knew what I did, but I didn't know why. And so the idea of purpose has nothing to do with business. It's a deep-seated human need. Our need to belong is deeply ingrained in us. And the more we feel like we belong to our tribe, and the more that we feel that our company and our work has meaning beyond just the money we make and the product we sell, it actually is incredibly fulfilling and incredibly joyful. And it just so happens it's exceptionally good for business. Organizations that have a clear sense of purpose, use that sense of purpose to make decisions, hire to that sense of purpose, build structure, incentives around that purpose, tend to outperform, tend to out-innovate their competitors over the long term, almost always.
Too many of us confuse that the short-term impacts that we're having are producing long-term value, or conversely, having no short-term impact means we're having no value. So for example, you can't go to the gym for 9 hours and get into shape. It literally doesn't work, no matter how much effort you put in. But if you work out every single day for 20 minutes, guaranteed 100% you will get into shape. When will you get into shape? No clue. Over time. And everyone's different. Some people a little quicker, some people a little slower. And yet we are 100% sure it'll 100% work. I just don't know when. And we're also obsessed with predicting when. It has to be this quarter, it has to be the end of the year, it has to be when we pay taxes. And I got very comfortable saying, I know that if I stick to the process, I know 100% it's going to work, and I have to get comfortable that I have no control over when. And so the things that I wrote about in Start With Why is the game plan that I have followed since I first wrote about it.